Hey guys, Kyle, the Death Knight of Anime here, bringing you the One Piece chapter 100 and 1001 review. The chapter right after the big chapter 1000. And so actually before I get into the review, let's talk about the fact that after this chapter, One Piece is going on another break, which honestly I don't mind. Like it's Oda, and the man. If I had to take a guess, like the man, even when he's on break, he's always working. So I bet my bottom dollar, just based on this chapter alone, that he's probably going to be using the 2 weeks in order to plan out how this chapter is going to play out. Of how this whole like conflict fight is going to play out. Um, but okay, getting right into the chapter itself. Right out of the gate, obviously the first thing to talk about is how much everyone was just wailing on Kaido and Big Mom in this episode, and I can already see this being the biggest thing that people are going to take issue with. But a few things to consider, if you may. First off, Kaido has kind of proven himself up to this point that he's honestly a fucking masochist. The dude loves pain. He will willingly take multiple shots from his uh, enemies, just for the fact that he loves to endure pain. Just from the fact that he loves to endure like hits and blows from people. Like he again, this is a man who tried to commit suicide. So yeah, the man loves to feel pain, obviously. Uh, but only but the other side of that is it isn't just because he likes pain, but also a lot of what he does when he's fighting, he takes shots from people because it's with the intent of taking measure of his opponent's strength, and that's basically what he was doing here. Um, and like he pretty much did it with the scabbard. He did the same thing against the scabbards, and he's doing it here too. Second, as far as the little comment about Luffy's punch actually damaging Kaido goes, I wouldn't read all that much into it, honestly, because I genuinely believe we've only gotten started, and that there's going to be a lot more back and forth in this fight than there was in Luffy and Lucci's fight. Honestly, like I genuinely believe that the amount of that the length of this fight is probably going to be even longer than that fight. Um, However, if you want to take anything away from it, like again, going off what I said about the fight between Kaido and Yakuza and Nine, I think Kinemon and the others have left some weak points in order for the others to exploit and take advantage of. So, the Yakuza and Nine, I think have furnished left at least a couple more than a few spots in order for Kaido to be defeated on. Um, of course, um, of course, looking beyond the technicals of it, this little starting brawl was epic on its own merit, specifically with how it showed what each character is capable of after training and preparing in the months that was leading up to this fight. But also, in a certain respect, Kaido isn't exactly wrong when he said when he pretty much said when he said when he pretty much said whoever pretty much wins this will get closer to being the king of the pirates. Because, well, I'm sure because here's the thing. In many respects, that could kind of mean that could kind of mean we're pretty much nearing the pretty much end of the series. That could be an indicator to that. However, however. It's one of those things where, and for me personally, it's one of those things that, while I'm more sure than ever that we still have a few more areas of the One Piece world to explore before making it to Raftel. The one thing that kind of stuck out about this fight to me is there is a sense of finality to it, where when you look at this fight, if Luffy succeeds in defeating Kaido this time around, then we pretty much truly will have reached the peak where if Luffy can successfully defeat Kaido, then Yonko, then he can successfully take on anything and anyone anything and anyone afterwards that the new world is gonna throw at him afterwards. And this doesn't just apply to Luffy either, but pretty much everyone fighting alongside him on that battlefield will have surpassed some kind of limitation after this fight, when everything is said and done. So to that end, I not only like how the beginning of this fight directly mirrored how Luffy's first fight with Kaido went, but if you cut one of Luffy's lines, you'll see that he wasn't just training his armament hockey like during his training, but also his observation hockey. Because one thing he said is that I've pretty much learned that in order to see into the future more, I can see further into the future. That's I think more or less what he said. So it kind of shows that Luffy right now he basically has greater control over his future sight as well. And I think in some ways, I think pretty much his from future sight and his observation hockey are going to be a greater weapon against Kaido than what he's learned with his pretty much armament hockey. Like I think his observation hockey is going to be the key thing that's going to help him defeat Kaido here. Honestly, um, if also with pretty much going off the pretty much off the pretty much finality aspect of this moment, I'm able to, and also with going off the finality aspect of this chapter, it's one of those things where at this point in time, I'm able to envision in my head more and more of how the final battle, before Luffy finally obtains the One Piece is going to play out. I mean, obviously, we pretty much know it's going to involve Blackbeard, but if Oda's as much of an insane genius as I think he is, then just from the fact that just from all this that we've learned, everything that we've been building on so far, it definitely seems to more or less like Oda seems to be more or less building on the idea that the final battle between Luffy and Blackbeard is going to mirror what pretty much happened what pretty much happened what pretty much happened with the final battle of Roger versus Shiki. But this time, unlike that battle where it was just Roger and his crew versus Shiki and his Grand Fleet. This time it'll be Luffy and the Straw Hat Grand Fleet against Blackbeard and his fleet of pirates. So then yeah, I'm starting to envision in my head right now a lot of the mirrors of what's going to be, of how everything is going to play out. And honestly, I'm really excited as to what the future holds for as to how the climax is going to look. But now obviously we have to wonder as to what the motivator is going to be. Obviously, if there's going to be a final battle between Blackbeard and Luffy, there's going to have to be a motivating factor. Obviously, possibly aside from just the One Piece. And I think pretty much that's where Inuarashi's Inuarashi and Nekomushi's like warning to Robin comes into play. Like I think at some point that Robin is gonna end up end up captured by Blackbeard, and that's what's going to spark the final battle between the Straw Hat Grand Fleet, and Blackbeard. I think that's kind of how I'm envisioning how that whole scenario is going to play out. Because again, I don't think Oda would have set up that warning without precedent. And yeah, obviously we need to talk about. And obviously we need to kind of talk about those three panels with Luffy, Law, and Kid avoiding Big Mom's fireballs, while giving the same what the fuck kind of reaction that the Straw Hats had when they learned Luffy was in prison. And it's one of those artistic choices where I'd like to just sit down with Oda and ask him where the fuck the idea for this very specific face reaction came from. Because the only other word aside from maybe cringe I can use to describe it is random. It's just a very random, out of nowhere reaction, and I don't know how to feel about it, because I don't know where the hell the inspiration for this specific face reaction came from. Was it based off some kind of Japanese artwork I'm not familiar with? Because if not, then the only other thing I can draw a comparison to is it looks like the Screaming Lady painting. But yeah, it is such an odd reaction. I don't know where Oda got this from. I don't. But yeah, as a whole, this chapter was really good. Honestly, the only thing bad about this chapter to me, and it's not really even bad, it's just kind of a nitpick, is that aside from this, putting aside the very quick scuffle where Zoro cut Prometheus. I felt the one weakness of the chapter was that Big Mom felt underutilized in this chapter, but as I said, this is really only the beginning of this fight, and honestly, taking out everything happening in the background, I can see this fight like pretty much lasting anywhere from 10 to 15 chapters, but again, we'll just have to wait and see how Oda's planned this out. Because again, One Piece is going on break, so I imagine within those 2 weeks that Oda's going to be planning ahead of how to approach the fight from here. But as I said, I think this fight it's definitely gonna it's definitely gonna last more than like 5 chapters for sure. I think we're looking at like again like 10 chapters minimum, I'd say. But yeah, guys, that's all I got for this review. If you enjoyed the video, like, comment, subscribe. Follow me on Twitter, Facebook, and Crunchyroll. Death Knight of Anime, signing off. Later, guys.